Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, holiday shopping season is underway. What's this year's outlook? The effort continues to save a historic high school. Truth Distillery is in our business spotlight. A Hoosier-made product can protect outdoor exercisers. We catch up with the president of Marian University, and we talk about the big business stories of the week with our partners at the IBJ and our panel of insiders. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. A surge in retail spending in October could be a key indicator to how consumers are planning to spend during the holiday shopping season. However, ongoing supply chain issues could provide headwinds. John Talbot, director of the IU Kelley Center for Research and Education in Retail, joined Inside Indiana business host Gary Dick to weigh in.
I know we were talking off camera a moment ago. You've been doing this for a number of years, and you say the forecasting business this year is as challenging as ever because there are so many issues really at play.
Yes, Gary. I mean, I've been in this for 40 years now, I think, and just the differences, in terms of variability in consumers, the variability around what we can access, what we can't access, just uncertainty around labor, so many things that normally we sort of take for granted during this time are just not something we can hang our hat on, if you will. And so I'm as confused as I've ever been at this time of year.
Yeah. Hey, how about just generally speaking, though, supply chain, availability of product on the shelf, big issue. A lot of people want to know what's going to be there. I think generally speaking, it sounds like the big box stores may be in a little better position than some of the others.
Yeah, I think we've all seen over the last couple of weeks, some of the big players like Target and Walmart have announced third quarter earnings results. And in both cases, the CEOs of those companies made it very clear that they said, our shelves will be full. We will be in stock on inventory. We've gone through a number of extraordinary measures to be able to make sure that our ships got emptied and that our shelves are full. So please come shop. But I'm not sure that that's going to be the same for all levels of retail. Yeah.
Any idea on the impact inflation is or will have on this holiday shopping season, not just for goods, but obviously just the cost of life, of living, and the impact that might have on holiday spending?
Yeah, I've definitely heard several terms for that. And, we get less services for a given level of money. Don't expect a lot of price discounting this particular holiday season. I think no real incentive for retailers to strongly compete on price. Every retailer, as we've seen, has a Black Friday promotion, a Cyber Monday promotion. Those were put in place months and months and months ago to be sure that they had those goods in place. But once they're gone, it's going to be challenging to refill.
Yeah. As you look at what will be popular this holiday season, gift cards have been popular for a number of years, but I know you feel as though the gift card may be the gift of choice in part because of these supply chain issues.
Yeah, I like gift cards, Gary, because especially for smaller retailers who may have more of a challenge in getting the things that they need and also particularly being able to replenish on those items that I think for them to be able to get the assurance of that revenue in the bank and then have the opportunity to work with their suppliers to get those goods in first quarter, second quarter of next year and turn those gift card transactions into a revenue transaction. But they still get the cash, which is great for small players. And so I think there's no reason for them to miss a sale if you have a gift card that you can put in place.
Yeah. How about your general outlook for those smaller mom and pop, those mid-sized retailers around the state, maybe in some of the more rural and smaller areas around the state? Certainly have been challenged during the pandemic. How do you think they're going to fare this holiday season?
Well, Gary, I'm in Bloomington, and I'm sure you're familiar with Bloomington. We have a lovely little square down here with many locally owned businesses. And last year, the ability to get into the store was much more challenging. But these people are our friends, our neighbors. I think I'm hopeful that people will say, I want to get back into my local retailer and see that person again and see what's new and see what they've discovered in this challenging marketplace. So I think it's going to be a good year for smaller retailers. They've had to live through a lot, and last year is certainly probably the most challenging in history, but I'd like to think things are on the comeback.
Yep. We only have about 20 seconds, John, but as you look to next year, 2022, any thoughts in terms of the outlook, in terms of spending and retail and how things might shake out next year?
Well, obviously, it depends on the economy overall, and there's some uncertainty around that, although I think the general outlook is good. And if that's the case, and we have some good news around COVID and being able to deal with it as a society. And so that might mean the masks are off and that stores are open, and they'll be up against pretty easy numbers from last year. So I think we'll see good first and second quarter earnings.
Great perspective, as always, from John Talbot, the Director, Center for Research and Education and Retail at the IU Kelley School of Business. John, happy Thanksgiving to you. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Same to you, Gary. Thanks.
After a 2-year hiatus, TechPoint is bringing back its popular sales boot camp. The state's technology initiative is also looking ahead to the 2022 Mira Awards. TechPoint CEO Mike Langelier and Malomo CEO Ya Aining came on the show with more.
Hey, Mike, I want to start with you on Mira. This has, continued to be such a popular event. Obviously, COVID made this a virtual event, which was nice, but not the same as in person. Going to change to in person. Tell me about the interest and how big this event has become and why it's important, in your view, for the tech economy in Indiana.
Yeah, it's that time of year, Gary, the time when companies and universities and cities and individuals all across the state submit their applications for, as you said, what's known as the Oscars of Tech in Indiana, the Mira Awards. And in April of 2022, pandemic permitting, we'll be back in person for the first time in 3 years. And I think as we all have felt the separation of not being in close proximity to people that we care about and people in our community over the course of the past couple of years, we're looking forward to changing that and having people back in person. That this will be, I can imagine already that sold out crowd at the JW Marriott in downtown Indianapolis.
Yeah, as you mentioned, sellout crowd, so lots of people there will be jam-packed. But also in terms of the interest, you have continued to see an increase in the number of entries, the number of applications, and from not just central Indiana, but around the state.
Yeah, we have. And last year, we saw trends that I like in a lot of different dimensions. We saw more regions and companies and people from all across the state. We saw more individuals from underrepresented groups all across the state as well. That was a really positive sign from last year. And as you said, the quantity continues to increase too, which is a good sign for both innovation and for tech company growth.
Yeah, Yao Ning, CEO of Malomo, a really innovative shipment tracking platform. Yao, you won not one, but 2 awards last year as the Startup of the Year and also the Rising Entrepreneur. Those things are neat to have, those trophies, and you got one right over your left shoulder there, I see in the picture, in the shot. But what does it mean to win an award at the Mira Awards to you personally and to the company?
Yeah, I mean, it was an honor winning 2 Mira Awards. I've always dreamed of winning a Mira for the longest time as an entrepreneur. It's kind of the highlight as a business owner to be recognized in that way. For the company, it just did some tremendous things. I think it really solidified us as a breakout tech company with an exciting company culture. And it also helped us from a hiring perspective. It had a huge impact on our brand reputation. We saw a flood of applications from prospective candidates to open positions, which helped us really hire some key team members.
Only have about 20 seconds. Give us a quick snapshot of Malomo. I know things continue to grow there.
Yeah. Things have been really, really great. We work with e-commerce merchants. As many people know, e-commerce is growing tremendously fast. We saw our team double in size, our customer account triple in size this year. And we were also honored later in the year to the Forbes Cloud 100 Rising Stars list. I think the Mira Awards really set us up there nicely.
Yao Ning, the co-founder and CEO at Malomo. Mike Langelier, the CEO at TechPoint. Mira Awards applications open up November 30 next week. Looking forward to that event. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks for having us.
At one point, Gary Roosevelt in Lake County was one of the largest, mostly black high schools in the Midwest. It has sat empty since 2019 and finds itself once again on Indiana Landmark's 10 Most Endangered list. Around Indiana, reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has an update on the effort to save this piece of history.
It was once a beacon of academic and athletic prowess for the African-American community. Glenn Big Dog Robinson ring a bell? But time has not been kind to Roosevelt High School. A series of busted pipes permanently closed the school in 2019. Now an especially strong group of alumni, with the help of a few city leaders, are doing everything they can to save the place they say was once the heart and soul of Gary.
City shouldn't let it go. They should never let it go, because this is history.
They always told us that we just had to be better than everybody else because we was all black.
Gary, Indiana in the 1920s was a booming city of steel, even nationally recognized for its innovative public schools. But not everyone was welcome in certain classrooms. And when the city attempted to integrate a few black students to its all-white Emerson High School in 1927, it ended in disaster.
White students walked out of Emerson after attempts of integration, and the school corporation, in reaction, decided to build this school, and then it went on to again be a beacon of black excellence in the city of Gary.
Roosevelt High School was built in 1930, and it was one of only 3 all-African-American high schools in the state of Indiana, a source of pride for many residents here in Gary.
So this was our center of culture, and many of the city people that were in positions of authority or let's say influence were Rooseveltians. But this school was always considered a sacred spot.
But this sacred spot has fallen on hard times. A faulty heating system, coupled with a polar vortex in 2019, caused a series of pipes to burst. And it was the final straw that closed the 90-year-old historical building for good.
With the cleanup of the water damage and mold is $8 to $15 million. So that's just to get it back to how it was operating previously.
From the school district's perspective, we're not planning on opening the school for a school district, but I don't see that the school district would ever use it for a school again.
There's that historical aspect of it.
Gary Mayor Jerome Prince is all too familiar with the rich history of Roosevelt. And in an effort to rebuild his city, and perhaps Roosevelt, he's turned to Gary's most famous family of singers for a little help.
I've had at least a few conversations with members of the Jackson family who have a renewed interest in helping to reimagine, as we call it, the city of Gary, which includes at least some desire to help facilitate a renovation on the Roosevelt school site. My primary focus is to rebuild the city.
So, is this part of the original structure?
This is the original structure.
This is home to me, you know. I hate to see it in this condition.
And while the school undoubtedly served as a point of pride for Gary's black community in its heyday, its strong alumni base is determined to keep the Roosevelt legacy alive for future generations.
We are interested in being involved in whatever happens to the building, that we are staying ready to assist them and mainly be some part of the decision making.
To the Gary Roosevelt squad.
Youngsters don't know the history of Roosevelt, and I think they should know about the only black school at that time. It's a place that I always cherish.
There have been a few offers, but nothing has materialized in terms of a buyer. I did reach out to some of the Roosevelt alumni we featured in the piece. They tell me the multi-million-dollar price tag is definitely worth saving Roosevelt High School.
In just 7 years, Nashville, Indiana-based Truth Distillery Company has grown into one of Indiana's largest places to experience premium spirits. The company has grown from a small pizza restaurant into a big-time destination. Co-founder Jeff McCabe joined us to tell us how.
Congratulations on the growth. We have done a couple of stories on your campus there in Brown County, which is really an interesting place. And what I think is interesting about your business, be it the distilling, the restaurant, the brewery, is during the pandemic you didn't slow down. You really doubled down, and that was very much an intentional move.
It really was. We kind of looked at it. We knew our back was against the wall with that many restaurants and the kind of overhead we had. We felt like we were either going to succeed or fail in this, and that if we were going to fail, we might as well go big, and if we were going to succeed, we might as well go big. So we went ahead, we developed some new products on the distilling side, a couple of new beers on the beer side, and we opened up 2 more restaurants during the pandemic. So we just pushed forward. It worked out.
Yeah, working out in a big way, expanding your footprint. But let's talk about the Destination Distillery, because that continues to be a really big success for you, and kind of a launch pad, if you will, for your platform and all of your products. And as we were talking off camera, really all about the experience.
Yeah, it's really great. Here on the 325 acres, we're able to bring all 3 brands to life, really, and that's the way we think about it. We think about the campus as kind of a living expression of the brands, and you can come here. If all you wanted to do was take a walk in the woods, you could do that. If you're here to eat and drink and experience, you can do that too. The family's welcome to come. And we've got some tour options that are just off the hook, right? Like the ATV tours and that kind of stuff. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about your restaurant, Big Woods Restaurants, because that is in expansion mode, including at the Fashion Mall here on the north side of Indianapolis. You've got some pretty big plans.
Yeah, we're going to do 2 things, and this is our second project with the folks at Simon. Our first is the Premium Outlet Mall in Edinburgh, and that's gone really well for us. It's one of the places we opened during the pandemic, and kind of based on that experience and the needs of the Simon Group, we looked at the Fashion Mall. So we're going to do 2 things. We're going to open a restaurant and a Big Woods restaurant, and we're going to take that center position in the food court and have a kind of a bar kiosk that's branded Hard Truth. So really looking forward to that.
And this really is part of you becoming or continuing to become a national brand, though, right? I mean, you're Indiana, obviously, but you have designs on bigger things.
Yeah, for sure. We're Indiana first and always, of course. But we're now distributed in 10 states, and in the next several months, we'll be distributed in 22 states with Hard Truth. And this is another great opportunity to introduce people to Hard Truth in a big way.
Yeah.
So we're absolutely focused on that.
Hey, about 20 seconds left, Jeff. But what's next? Continued growth around the country?
Yeah, the beer brand is growing at about 27% this year, so we'll keep that going. Restaurants are great. Black Friday, we release our first whiskey distillate that's 100% from Indiana, including the corn that we grew. So that Hard Truth Sweet Mash will be in stores on Friday, which is really exciting for us.
Big Woods, Quaffon, Hard Truth, Inc., co-founder and partner Jeff McCabe. Jeff, congratulations on the growth. We look forward to following your story.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your support, Jerry.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Exercising outside in the Indiana cold can take a big toll on your skin. Carmel neurologist and endurance athlete Doug Strobel came up with an all-natural balm to speed healing after working out. He spoke with Kylie Valletta in the Business of Health.
We mentioned up top that you're a neurologist, but the other hat you wear is an endurance athlete. So explain how that sparked this idea to create your balms.
Well, when you get to my age, if you can't run fast, you have to run far. So I started doing endurance events, and it was a lot different from the days when I was in the military. And I wanted a product that I could just put in my pocket and it would solve more than one problem instead of juggling 4 or 5 different things. And we had things, I come from this family of farmers, things laying around that you just don't throw away. And so I had beeswax, I had coconut oil, and I had olive oil. So I mixed those together and it was very good. Mixed with the ratios, and then with cross-referencing and talking to other people, I added peppermint oil and the lavender oil, and that was it. That was the original Miracle Balm.
So let's talk a little bit more about your ingredients. They're natural, certified, organic. Talk about some of the health benefits that your ingredients have.
Yeah, this was kind of a big one for me being in medicine. I see side effects of medications and treatments. And so, yes, they're there for a good reason, but there are bad things. And all of our products you can buy in your grocery aisle. It's all food grade. And a lot of those are buzzwords, but for us, it made it truly unique. And we actually have taste tests for all of our ingredients. And I can tell the difference between the beeswax A and beeswax B. I can tell you if there's been forest fires out there because you can smell it. Beeswax smells like honey when you melt it. And the coconut oil there's such a wide variety of the coconut oil. But the health benefits are just one that really it's food grade. And then the coconut oil has an antiviral, antibacterial quality. The lavender oil is very natural. It's soothing. It helps with headache. It helps people sleep. It's also a natural bug repellent. And the peppermint oil helps with vascularity and soreness. And so everything is very purpose driven. But I think the biggest thing that we like about it is, you can eat it. It's a very safe product.
Yes, so natural that like you said, it's food grade. So you have 2 new bundles just in time for the holidays. One for stress relief. Of course, we could all use that around the holidays. Also a new mom bundle. Can you talk about those just a little bit?
Yeah, so the stress relief, holidays being what they are, the stress relief bundle has magnesium. It's our original with magnesium. Magnesium's been around for millennia. It's very soothing. It's good for skin elasticity. The other thing about the holidays is you don't know what kind of day you're going to have. Is it a humid, warmish day? Is it a cool, dry day, which can really take its toll on your skin? So the stress relief is good for the weather changes, but also the magnesium and the other products are good just to help you sleep and to help you rest. And your grandmother was right. And Epsom salt baths are good for you, and that's very much like what the magnesium does. It also has a charcoal soap in there. And then the new mom's package, it's well named, but it's really kind of an any mom's package because you use it whether you're planning to have a baby during your pregnancy or after delivery because it helps with stretch marks, elasticity, and it's also very soothing and safe for baby.
And I'm sure, as you know, there's a movement for consumers to know where their products come from. They want to know where they're coming from. And you really pride yourself on being a local company, locally sourced ingredients as much as possible. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's still handcrafted. We still make it in a secret location lab, it's no longer made in my kitchen, thank goodness. But our labels are made in Greenfield, Indiana, by a very high-end label company, but they're in Greenfield. And our labels are applied by some of my office staff for some extra money on the side. So we're very mom and pop and very homegrown. And we love the fact that we're just up the road from so many of our customers.
Just a few seconds left, Doug, but you mentioned during the pandemic that, a lot of local small companies struggled, but you guys actually thrived during the pandemic, correct?
That is correct. I think it's because people had the need. They were home. They were finding their fitness journey, and a lot of that is due to my co-founder, Natalie Gardner. She really helped make that. Kept us alive when I was just working.
All right. Well, Dr. Doug, thanks for being on the show today. A good option if Hoosiers want to avoid those supply chain issues this holiday season. So good luck to you.
We're out there and we have plenty of products. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Marian University's 8th president has helped grow Indianapolis's only Catholic university from an undergraduate college to a vibrant university with a medical school, 4 doctoral programs, and a soon-to-open engineering school. We caught up with Dan Elsener in our Eye on Education segment.
Congratulations on 20 years. I don't know whether it seems like a long time or not that long at all, but much has certainly changed over these 20 years. And as I mentioned, and a lot of people may not know, when you came on board to lead then Marian College, the college was really in jeopardy of going away.
Yeah, you could visualize a college with one foot in the financial grave and the other on a banana peel. We were in a precarious situation.
What saved things in your view? Kind of just briefly, how did things turn around?
We found a focus, clarified what we wanted to accomplish, and recruited great leaders to the board, administration, faculty, people that had a large passion and vision to make a difference, not only for our students, but in the important professions that are key to human flourishing and everything a university can do to advance the economic, social, and cultural well-being of community. And once you get purpose and a big why, Gary, things take off.
Well, I know we talked about this on my Business and Beyond podcast that will be released here in a couple of weeks recently, but transformative is sometimes overused. I think it's a good description, though, of what has happened at Marian on so many levels, so much building, so many new programs, among them a new medical school, the state's second medical school. That was a big undertaking.
That was a big pivot. There's a certain halo, academic halo and academic achievement and excellence halo that comes with a medical school, because with the dean and the faculty and the staff and high quality students, Gary, we had over 5,000 applicants for 150 seats in the medical school last year. We're on the same pace to do it, and we come from great institutions from all over the country. So that was a big pivot in going from Marian College to Marian University. And now the research activity, the space we have moving down at 16 Tech with the med school and undergraduate program. So that was what they call a pivot with leverage.
Yeah, interesting. Also, the Klipsch Educators College. You produce a lot of teachers and educators. The Educators College has a very intentional focus that's maybe different than other schools of education.
Yeah, when, Fred Klipsch is on our board and Judy, his wife, big passion about every kid, regardless of their zip code background, deserves an excellent education, and schools can't do it on their own. And we had a big idea and vision to recruit excellent, diverse students for education, teaching, and principal. And then the goal really emerged to help every school, regardless of zip code, be an A school. And it's been off and running. We've raised almost $60 million now for our Educators College, and we're engaged with schools in unique ways, nationally recognized ways, and we're very proud of it and happy for what we're doing for young people.
I got to ask you about football, too, because that was a big endeavor that you had. I think you broke the story on our show a number of years ago. Not everybody thought it was a good idea to launch a football program, but it has paid off in a number of ways.
It really has. I often say, I used to pray we'd win. Now I pray for the other team because we're pretty rough. We're good football players. And so, and we're in the national tournament again this year. Last week we won our first playoff game. Next week we'll be in Iowa. So, it's been tremendous. We've been in the national championship 4 years. We've played football 13. That's a pretty good rate. We've won a couple of them, and it's really been a fun thing. Stimulated a lot of activity on campus and changed how people viewed us and what we could get done together.
Yeah. Hey, I only have 20 seconds, Dan, but going forward, I know your footprint is expanding throughout the state of Indiana, collaborations, partnerships, St. Joe, Ancilla, a number of partnerships.
Right. Yeah, we're in Nashville, Tennessee, Oklahoma City, different places where with a combination of online and on the ground solid partnerships, we're going to be in a lot of places with Marian University in a highly effective manner.
All right. Much continues to happen on the campus of Marian University here in Indianapolis. Dan Elsner, 20 years leading the school. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gary. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your support.
All right.
Indiana businesses are looking to cash in on the infrastructure bill, and there are big changes at the Fisher's Test Kitchen. We talk about what's ahead in this week's IBJ with editor Leslie Weidenbenner.
You talked last week about the infrastructure bill. So many pieces to that. It's massive, lots of money coming into Indiana. And there are Indiana companies, kind of a diverse group of companies looking to cash in.
Yeah, exactly. Last week, we talked specifically about the money that Indiana would be getting for roads and bridges. But what is also happening is the bill provides billions of dollars for things like solar projects, hydrogen vehicles, water quality, and there are lots of Indiana companies like Cummins, Allison, 120 Water Audit that think that they'll get some more business because of it.
And I think it interesting, 120 Water Audit, a startup that is really achieving some success stands to benefit as well.
Yeah, they have hundreds of customers across the country that are looking for ways to comply, help with complying with water rules, and they're going to have a lot more customers, I think.
Yeah, you are also going to have a story about Indy Parks. acquiring some big chunk of land. In fact, the biggest land acquisition they've had in a number of years for green space.
Yeah, 90 acres that they're purchasing for about $1.8 million. This is money that's available through the federal pandemic assistance. And so it's letting them do something they haven't been able to do in 2 decades. Combined, they haven't bought 90 acres.
And they really don't have a land acquisition budget, right?
They don't. Yeah. They really don't. And they also don't have money to actually develop this land. So right now they're buying the land, and then they're going to set it aside until they have a bigger plan for it.
That will be an interesting story to watch. And it is the season. Holiday shopping season is upon us. I know you're going to have a look at what to expect, some of the gifts, popular gifts and things that might be out there.
Well, I think the experts are recommending, of course, that you be careful about what you're trying to order because of supply chain issues. We actually have a list of gifts that don't that you can do whether you have a supply chain issue or not. A DNR gift card to for camping, or an annual park pass, a day at the spa, or even try shopping at antique or secondhand stores where there are lots of options.
Yeah, DNR, that's an interesting one. And I know gift cards have been hot for a number of years, but I think maybe especially so this year because of the supply chain issues.
Absolutely. You can give somebody a gift card and they can use it when whatever they want is actually in stock.
Leslie Weidenbender, as always, great to have you here with a preview of what's coming up in a jam-packed IBJ. We'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
And finally this week, we break down the holiday shopping season, Indiana's economic outlook, and tech sector investments with our insiders. The panel includes Beck Communications Group President Laura Beck, Ball State Center for Business and Economic Research Director Mike Hicks, and Vox Global Managing Director Mike Marker.
Let's start out. I'll kind of go to each and every one of you. Mike Hicks at Ball State, I'll start with you. Just your general impressions as we head into the holiday shopping season, but just end of the year, getting ready to head into 2022, how you feel the Indiana economy is doing. There's a sense that things are getting back to some sense of normalcy. What's your view?
I think that's about right. We've recovered as well as the rest of the country through this pandemic. There's been a big burst of household spending where the consumption patterns over the past year have been pretty low. Now we're spending it. Usually between this Friday and Christmas Eve, you see about a quarter of all retail spending going on. I think it's going to be a frenzied period of buying and one generally good for the overall economy. We're definitely in a recovery, a robust recovery.
Yeah, Laura Beck, what's your take? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely seeing that it is definitely picking up. I think we're also seeing, too, people do have more money because they didn't spend it as much last year. You've got the stimulus, you've got the American Rescue Plan money coming in. So people do have some more money in their pocketbooks. And I think that's one of the reasons that's driving some of this. I think probably I'm watching COVID more, especially as we look ahead to the economy and what that impact is going to be, particularly as we're in these colder winter months, because we still aren't at that sort of mass immunity point yet.
Yeah, Mike Marker, what's your take? We look around and we see full college football stadiums and basketball arenas and, people getting out. Psychologically, at least, it seems as though things are getting back to normal. You think that translates into the economy?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I think people have more money in their pockets. And they're in a position where they want to spend. I think there's also a fair amount of uncertainty as well. Consumer confidence is a bit challenged, and we're going to get into midterms coming up, which will be its own thing. And it'll create some more uncertainty in different levels in terms of what policymakers might do or not do going forward. But I think we're well positioned overall coming into the new year.
Yeah, Mike, Marker, your thoughts on the whole supply chain chaos that we've seen around perhaps getting a little bit better? I don't know, no short-term fixes, I guess, for it, but any thoughts on how that's going to affect the shopping season and the holiday spending here in Indiana?
I have a little different take on it related to supply chain is that we're spending an awful lot on goods buying out of market and then saying, what can we get shipped to us when we have a whole lot of opportunities to buy right here in our backyard? So I think there's an easy fix on that and that we ought to look at. And then I also think there's bigger supply chain issues that we ought to be talking about, which is our supply of educators that we have. Classrooms are closing down around the state of Indiana because we don't have enough teachers or administrators to fill classrooms. And those are the supply chain things that I think are important for us to look at in the year ahead as well.
Yeah. And Laura, I know you mentioned off camera, you think this is a real opportunity to kind of piggyback on what Mike said, to really support those local neighborhood, if you will, retailers.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I mean, I am personally very committed to shopping local. I do it as much as I possibly can. And you end up having a relationship with the people who run these businesses. And all over the state of Indiana, we have some amazing local small businesses that are doing great things every day. They're reinvesting in their communities. So even if you live in Indianapolis or you live in a more rural community, you can find, as Mike said, right in your backyard. So this really is an opportunity for us to look beyond what we typically do and what we're accustomed to doing, and really reinvesting in our communities.
Yeah, my kicks from an economist standpoint, your take on the supply chain challenges, and are there any things that can be done? I've heard people talk about easing some of the regulations with truck drivers and the age of truck drivers and getting them more of those in the system. Anything that can be done in your view to kind of alleviate some of these bottlenecks?
Well, I think Mike and Laura have largely hit the point here. This is a demand-driven problem primarily. We're buying a lot of goods after having not spent a lot of money last year, and that makes it very difficult for producers to get everything in. So there are things we can do: buy more services, go to a local movie, go to do something locally. I do think that there's an awful strong argument for mitigating some of the regulatory constraints, the Jones Act and automation at ports, and maybe loosens up rules on truck drivers. But those would be good ideas, even if we weren't in a challenging delivery standpoint. So, yeah, I think we ought to do those things, but there's nothing that's going to fix this except patience and the free market activities that the producers are doing right now. And I think we're kind of at the peak of this problem. I think but certainly after Christmas, I think it'll be largely solved.
Yeah, my kicks, I'll start with you, like all of your takes on the outlook for the future of work in the office versus remote. My kicks, how do you see that playing out? You've been, a few months ago, people say, hey, it's going to be all remote. And now we're saying, hey, it's going to be maybe a mix. What are you seeing?
Right. I mean, there are a number of studies out there. I like the McKinsey one that says about 20 to 30% of hours worked are going to be remote. But the most common model of that is hybrid, with 1 or 2 days at work each week. And so there are a number of jobs out there that could be done, virtually fully remote. It doesn't matter where I sit with my computer, but the human interaction is really valuable. There's a reason we have cities. There's a reason we have big companies that people interact with, and we're not doing home production like we did 400 years ago. And so that domain is really hard to fix with technology. So I think there's going to be a continued interest for people to be at work for some point of their lives. Still, if you only have to go to work 1 day a week, that changes where you can live. And it makes a lot of places in Indiana very attractive that maybe weren't on the radar of young professionals.
Yeah, interesting point. Mike Marker, your take on what we're going to be doing in or out of the office.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. Certainly plenty of jobs that can be remote only or fully remote. I do think that from a culture perspective and from a talent attraction and retention perspective, it's the wild, wild west, right? And we're not going to know more about this until we've experimented with it. McKinsey's saying 1 to 2 days a week in the office. If you're asking me, I'd say 2 to 3 days a week is going to be better for a culture, but you're going to have to find that right balance to make sure you attract and retain the top talent and meet the needs that they have. Because employees, a lot of reports out there about employees being more in the driver's seat. And so a lot of companies are going to have to tune into the needs of their top talent to make sure they can retain.
Yeah. Laura, I'll give you the final word on this. Where do you see the future of work?
Well, I agree with both Michael and Mike. I do think we're going to see a blend of it. But I do think there are some businesses and some, even local governments, for example, where you can't have people do remote work. I mean, there are just some jobs that you have to have people working. So from a talent perspective, what I think is going to be interesting is once we get kids back in schools, we get them vaccinated, they're back in schools, they're not e-learning. You may see a lot of folks who do want to continue to work at home because it does give them flexibility, and they're not having to both teach their children and work at the same time. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Will indeed be interesting, to be sure. Laura Beck, Mike Hicks, and Mike Marker, thanks one and all for being on The Insiders. Happy Thanksgiving as well.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state, at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.